Good evening.
A warm welcome to you all for a Golden Jubilee edition of International Film Festival India. Acting is an art that requires a lot of skills, techniques and passion. Today through this masterclass, we'll get to know the hidden traits of acting, how an actor steps into character and plays the role and many other aspects of acting. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce this actor who is known for her art of expression for over 50 years in cinema. She has appeared in more than 120 films and she is still counting. She is the most nominated actress of César Awards and several other awards. She has won 2 César Awards and several other prestigious awards. She is a Lifetime Achievement Award winner at this Golden Jubilee edition of International Film Festival of India. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause to Miss Isabelle Huppert. Thank you. To take this masterclass forward, we have a well-known author, journalist, film critic and director of Mumbai Academy of Moving Images. Please welcome our moderator for this evening, Miss Anupama Chopra. May I request the Directorate of Film Festival, Chaitanya Prasad, to kindly do the honors to this. Yeah. We would like to give a token of appreciation to this dignitaries on the dais, and Chaitanya Prasad, Directorate of Film Festival, would like to do the honors. Please give a round of applause and welcome them. Thank you. I request each one of you all to kindly switch off your mobile or at least put them on a silent mode. And it's over to the moderator, Ms. Anupama Chopra.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. And Isabelle, thank you. It's such a privilege, such an honor. Thank you for being here in India. Earlier this year, the website IndieWire posted a feature about you that was headlined, "Why Isabelle Huppert is still the most dangerous actress in the world." Do you see yourself as dangerous?
Yes.
Do you want to elaborate on that? Why?
I guess it was one of those jokes, jokes. A shortcut from IndieWire. Probably because of most of the roles I took, which first appear like dangerous. In fact, they're not dangerous, but that's the first approach you have of these roles. But maybe we'll have time to discuss this.
Yeah, I would like to come back to why you think they're not dangerous. You've also, of course, been called the Meryl Streep of France. That's the other phrase that I see, in articles about you. And with the Oscar nomination, with the 16 César nominations, it is an apt, comparison. But how do you feel about it?
Oh, I take it as a compliment. Meryl Streep is definitely one of our great actors. What else can I say? I try to do my best. I've worked with numerous prestigious directors, and this is probably my landmark, and this is what I'm most proud of. The number of amazing directors I've been working with.
You made your debut, Isabelle, in 1971, and over 120 films. You've proved again and again that you're a fearless actor. You were Oscar nominated for Elle, and Paul Verhoeven, the director of that film, said that he came to you because no American actress would be willing to take on such an immoral character. Clearly, being likable on screen or being relatable on screen is not a priority for you. So what is it that draws you to the roles that you do?
Well, let's take the example for Elle, for instance. I never thought she was an unlikable character. I always thought she was, to my eyes at least, and I hope I made it possible for the viewer's eyes as well, a very likable character. Of course, she's not an easy character, and the story in itself is certainly not it's a very complex story. It's a story of revenge, of a lonely revenge. She's a solitary woman, and she, to my eyes, have a certain amount of courage by taking this revenge all by herself, including, of course, some of kind of what we would call in French a razor's edge journey, of course, with this man. Yeah, again, like Elle and many other films, at first approach, I keep saying it's not the characters who are not likable, but it's the situations who are not likable, and it's more about these characters and these people trying to survive in an unlikable context, whether it is political or just social or whatever. But it's more about how the individual relates to a certain situation or a certain environment. If I can ask you not to take photos as I talk, please. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
You've also said, Isabelle, that I play not characters but states of mind. What is that? What is a state of mind? You said I never see it as a role. For me, it's a state of mind.
Well, I think the notion of character is very abstract and very out of reality. So I prefer to say that I play persons, first of all, rather than characters. And I think, yes, I think movie making is mostly about the present time, event after event, or situation, moment after moment. So that's why I like to say that I play, yes, state of mind. I mean, like sorrow or joy or energy or tiredness or whatever, but moment after moment. And at the end of the day, yes, you have a character and you have a story, of course. But as you do a film, you don't necessarily have the whole story in mind. You play moment by moment.
You know, when I read your interviews and when you're asked about acting, you almost make it sound easy. You say it either comes or it doesn't. You said in another interview that, you know, what I do as an actress is really the story of the scorpion and the frog. It's my nature. And so is it something that just comes when the director says action? Or what is your prep like if it's so spontaneous and so natural?
Well, it has all to do about, first of all, the director. He's the key piece to the ensemble, and I've been, again, privileged enough to work with really wonderful directors, and so it's all about the kind of relationship you're going to be able to weave and to create with this director, and so it's all about trust, of course, and if you don't have this kind of ingredients in the movie making, it makes it very, very difficult. But if you have it, it makes it very easy in a way. And I think the most difficult moment is when you choose to do the film. That's difficult because you have to really identify all the various important reasons why you do a film and why you do a role. But once you've done that, it's like a thread you pull, and you just let it be pulled, actually. And you are passive-active in that process. You are very active, but also passive in the way that the film goes by itself, and the film, you are, it's of course you do a film, but you are being done by the film as well, in a way. So it makes it, yes, passive-active.
So this process of, you know, trying to figure out whether you want to do a role or not. Can you tell us a little bit about how this works? How long does it usually take? Let's take Elle. Like, how long before you said yes to that?
Oh, it didn't take long. Elle was based on a French book by a French author, very well known in France, called Philippe Dion. And so I read the book. And in fact, and then I met Philippe Dion, whom I known from before. He even told me that when he wrote the book, he had me in mind. I never knew if that was true, but maybe, I don't know. So no wonder why I was attracted to that book, and then the whole story came together with the producer side by side and with Paul Verhoeven, and so that's how it happened.
So you didn't have to think a lot. You already liked the character.
Well, I had to think a lot in the sense that, again, that's a very complex character, and you have to make it. And again, when I said it's on the razor's edge, I mean by that, of course, I think that over the years and the month, and very early actually, after the movie was first released, but we immediately felt that being on the razor's edge, the movie was on the right side, but it could have easily fallen on the wrong side from quite a controversial subject matter. But Paul Verhoeven is talented enough to keep it on the good line, and maybe I was good enough too. I'm kidding, but so I'm not kidding, because yes, I had to make this character again. Yeah, to keep her in this complexity and for her never being sentimental. Imagine, for instance, at the end of the film, I don't know if some of you have, for instance, have seen the film, but imagine that, for instance, after the man had died, she would have some kind of emotional reaction that I think, to my eyes, would pull the film to the wrong side, you know. But because she remained so cold and so dry until the very end, that an evident sign that she never really had any sentiment for that man, but only she wanted to manipulate him and to accomplish a very special kind of a revenge.
You know, there's something else that you said which I thought was amazing. You said that you become an actor to be perhaps well known, but not to be known, and yet the films you do are a reflection of, somewhere a reflection of who you are. So as an actor, Isabelle, how do you find that line between not being known and yet having it reflect who you are?
Well, it's all about what we call the paradox of the actor, that a concept that was being explored by one of great philosophers in France, you know, Diderot. And I mean, when you make movies, of course, you have, it's not like, well, it could be like writing a book, actually. Even a writer, even if he speaks about himself, you have the mask or the screen of the fiction that reveal who you are, but in a way does not really reveal it. You know, otherwise I would. Yeah, so it's hard to. And finally, it's not really important to say who you are. But in fact, the screen is making movies is a good way to make yourself being known and not so known in a way, as you very quite rightly put it.
What do you like on set, Isabelle? Are you somebody who sort of prepares a lot? Do you like to leave room for improvisation? Do you like a lot of direction? After so many movies, what do you like?
It's not about what I like, actually. It's more about what it is exactly, movie making, and whether I like it or not. I think it's nothing that you can anticipate. So the idea of preparing when it comes to movie making, for me, is very, very unsure, because you cannot really prepare something. You cannot anticipate, because acting is really doing it as you do it, and it's nothing that you can anticipate, and that's it. And it's nothing that you can think over after it's being done. You know, it's really including all the elements of a situation as you do it, and that's it. So
it's truly in the moment.
It's really the moment, yes, absolutely, for me. And that's the beauty of acting, and it includes the rhythm, it includes also the relationship to your partner. I mean, you cannot anticipate what your partner is going to do by definition. If you cannot anticipate what you are going to do, it's certainly even more difficult to anticipate what the person in front of you is going to do, and how he's going to answer you. So for me, it's all so of course, yes, you can prepare the costumes, everything, every possible and imaginable thing that you can prepare, and this is very important, actually. Yes, the costumes, because these are the first signs you give to the exterior eye or to the viewer's eye, so that's important. But nothing else. You just and nothing else, because it's also the way you are going to be filmed, and whether you're going to be filmed in close-up or in the full-length shot or in sequence shot or a series of many cuts. And it makes the whole. That's what really shapes your performance.
Have you changed a lot, Isabelle, as an actor over the 5 decades, or are your creative instincts still what you began with?
I don't think I have changed, no, I hope not. No, I don't think so, no. No, I don't feel like I improved or, no.
You've worked with some of the greatest directors in the world. Jean-Luc Godard, you did 7 films with Chabrol, 4 films with Michael Haneke. How did these directors shape you as an actor?
They didn't really shape me, first of all, and I think that just gave me as much freedom as I could require, and every actor in the world requires freedom, and that's what you require most. And all the good and great directors, and even the good directors, even those who are not great, I mean, understand that this kind of freedom they have to give to the actors, and by that I mean, indicate more a path that really, says something to the actor, because the actors are really responsible for what they do, and they don't really need to be being told what they should do, actually. And certainly not from people that you just quoted, like Michael Haneke or Claude Chabrol.
So I'm assuming no director ever had the courage to actually enact a scene for you to do.
No, it's not a matter of courage, but it's just a matter of being smart, actually.
You also have the most incredible work ethic. Is it true you had 5 releases this year?
I think it's untrue, yes.
No, not 5? How many films released?
I don't know, but not 5.
Not
no,
5?
No, by no means. No,
but earlier this year you had, I think Greta was releasing, and you were doing
Greta
a Broadway.
Maybe 2. Greta, but Greta, I had done it 2 years ago, so, and it only this year it was released, but it was released in the States a year before, so
right.
Anyway, Greta and Frankie, 2 English-speaking movie. One with,
and how many French films?
But no French films, because I was doing these 2 films.
Doing these 2,
yes.
And you did an off-Broadway play.
Yes, I was doing a play in New York called The Mother by one of our great French playwright called Florian Zeller. But after that I did another play with a great American stage director in Paris, Robert Wilson. I don't know if any of you know Robert Wilson.
So, how do you keep working at this pace?
Well, I never felt I worked at a very brisk pace, actually. I just work. Sometimes I do a lot of things, but I don't have this idea of working constantly, and certainly not working fast. I think I take any time that any work requires in the kind of films I do and the kind of plays I do, and that means time to explore, time to understand what you do, and I think each film has its own time anyway. So I never felt I was rushed, or anything. I never felt I was piling up, all sorts of films and plays.
You're also doing a Netflix series called My Agent.
Well, that's a French series.
No, French.
It's not a Netflix series. It's been.
But it's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix,
right.
Yes, and to my pleasure, because the series was very much seen everywhere. But it's a French series called 10%. Originally, it's about the relationship between some famous actors and their agents, and it's supposed to be very funny, and it is actually. But then now you can see it on Netflix, and they call it Call My Agent. Yeah.
What has that experience been like? To you've also worked on stage, you've done television, you've done this. Is it a different muscle for the different forms of storytelling? Well,
it's certainly a kind of different muscle, as you say, between stage and movie making. That's a bit different. I mean, I don't feel different as an actress, but it's certainly a different process, and it's as much as you can imagine between being on a stage, which is such an unusual situation in a way, being a living person in front of living person. That's quite unusual, and yet being that unusual, it's been on for centuries, so, because theatre is a very old situation that goes on and on and on, and that's nice in a way, because it's there's something completely archaic which is still modern and a kind of utopia also in theatre, I think, which you can accomplish. And but between television and media, I couldn't say it. For me, it's exactly the same.
You know, actors in India, especially mainstream actors, stars, have a massive cultural influence. And there's an ongoing debate about what is the moral responsibility of an actor in the choices that he or she makes. When you're choosing a film, do you have to worry about the messaging that you're putting out there? Your filmography is sociopaths and self-mutilator and you know, all sorts of really intriguing dark characters. What do you think is the responsibility of an actor?
Well, first of all, I don't think you send messages by doing films. You know, Michael Haneke, my good friend Michael Haneke, has a very funny line about that. He said, if you want to send messages, you have the post office for that, you know. And so I'm happy to quote Michael Haneke. And so I don't necessarily have messages, and I don't have any other responsibility than to do a good film. That's the good responsibility. That's my responsibility.
So when you're making a decision to do a character, you have never thought about, will this influence anyone? You know, there was this recent debate about the Joker as well, that what is the messaging the film is putting out there? You know, is it going to encourage people to go out and kill people? So it's an ongoing debate in what you can say in your art. But you're saying that an artist should not have any other responsibility except do a good film.
Yes, in a way, and you can see that a film is very subjective in a way, and it's also left to everybody's subjectivity. So it's very difficult to establish a moral line. And so, I mean, some viewer, and I think a good film also is a film that being which is going to be seen by everybody, but which is going to be understood in a different way according to who watches it, you know, and that's the value of a great film. So I'm not here to establish a precise line, you know, between who is going to like it, who is not going to like it. Most of all, very often what you do is object of debate, and it's the same in literature, it's the same in painting, it's the same in any kind of expression.
You know, the other big ongoing debate is sort of the hand-wringing about the future of cinema itself. You know, the whole sort of Scorsese versus Marvel, Netflix versus, you know, streaming versus theatrical. As somebody who's made movies for 5 decades, how do you feel about the future of film?
Well, basically, I'm quite optimistic, so I don't want to think that we certainly started a new era with the series and but I still believe that cinema has a future. Yes, I think so. Maybe the accessibility to films has changed, and it's making it more and more difficult, of course, to make people watch a certain type of films. But I still believe in it. Yes, because I think that you have to invent. Cinema is a language, and it has to remain an individual language. And I think it will be kept alive if you still invent new forms and new languages. So I still believe that it has a future.
And where are you on the Marvel versus Scorsese debate about whether Marvel films are cinema or not?
Oh, I have no opinion about it. My microphone doesn't have any opinion about it.
Is there any practical acting tool that has really held you in good stead over the years? Something you do, just a sort of acting thing that you use when you go in to perform?
Some acting, a certain kind of concentration, I think, yeah. That's something, I'm not sure it's something I use, but it's certainly something I need, actually, yeah.
And you know, somebody said to me that it's for actors like yourselves. I mean, you blazed such a path. You're still you're doing amazing lead roles. There are films being written for you. I mean, the author wrote L for you, or so he says. Do you find it frustrating that you are seen not just for the actor that you are, but also as a sort of a signpost for the career that, you know, older actors can have, or what women are, you know, potentially capable of doing on screen? I mean, do you find that you have to represent all of that as well? And is that annoying in any way?
No, I'm afraid no. I mean, what you describe is a kind of very, very heavy burden on my little shoulders. So I don't think I mean, I understand in theory and intellectually what you're describing, but it's really something that, you know, when you're an actor, I think, of course, you have to, well, you have to, you don't necessarily have to, but you are aware that certain, you know, as you say, words are being used like symbols, but it's not something that you really live as a everyday life, luckily. Otherwise it would be very embarrassing and very not anymore, yes, like a big, you know, like a burden. So it's not really, I think life for everybody is a bit more uncertain, luckily, and a little bit lighter also in a way otherwise. And you know, you do things, but you are never really sure what you do, and you don't do all what you do with that kind of awareness. Otherwise, it would make it very, very heavy and not very light. And I want my life to be light sometimes.
When you've got so much experience, when you have done over 120 films, is it harder and harder to be surprised by the material that comes to you?
It's not only it's not harder and harder, but it's let's say it's never hard, because I think when you do what I do, it's like it's each time like you do it for the first time, because it doesn't include any theory or any abstract concept. It includes you know, people, and so it cannot be hard as you might think it is. It's the contrary, because it's like you are doing it for the first time each time.
So there was never a moment in all these years as well where you just felt like, I've fallen out of love with this, I don't want to do this anymore?
No.
Really? So the passion's been consistent from day one?
I think, yes. I mean, I don't even understand the question, actually.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And what are you most looking forward to in India?
Well, I wish I would know more about Indian cinemas, actually. I mean, as you probably know, here in my country, there in my country, we know a lot about, you know, for us, Indian cinema is very often symbolized or incarnated by, on one hand, Satyajit Ray, you know, who's a great master, and on the other hand, Bollywood, but we don't know a lot about Bollywood. We know some of it, but not a lot. As far as I am concerned, of course, as many French people, I watched Lunchbox by Hitesh Batra, which was wonderful, and I have to speak about the two I mean, not so recent, but Indian films I saw, and the other one was called oh my God, so j'ai oublié. Oh, I forgot. Comment ça s'appelait? J'ai oublié. Anyway, I'll try to find out after.
Well, as someone, you know, I know there'll be a lot of aspiring filmmakers in the crowd, and as someone who I read has the most films in competition in Cannes, I think you hold the record for that. I believe it's 18?
I believe it's 19.
19. Yes, a round of applause, guys. 19 films in competition. Do you have any advice for how to negotiate and how to sort of, you know, broach the great Cannes carnival?
Any advice? No, I don't have any advice. I have a special connection. No. No, I have no advice. I think, again, I was lucky enough to do films with. Well, first of all, I did many. I mean, that number of 19, even maybe more. I don't know. Included a lot of foreign directors. So from the very beginning, I was always interested in doing movies abroad. Since I started, I did movies in Hungary, in Italy, in Russia, in many countries, so of course it made it even more possible for a certain kind of. I remember the Hungarian films, for example, was in Cannes a long time ago. So no, that it and I wouldn't say it's a coincidence, but it's certainly related to the kind of films that I did with a certain kind of directors. So.
And any advice for all the aspiring actors in the room?
I'm not very good with advices, but just curiosity, I would say. I'm a very curious person, and in French we say it's a very bad default. I think it's a quality. Yeah. I'm very curious. I want to know everything about everybody, and it certainly gave me a kind of energy to be so curious.
So be curious. On that note, I'd like to open it up to the audience. Do we have any questions? Can we get mics? Yeah, just wait.
Bonsoir Isabelle. Bonsoir Isabelle.
Bonsoir.
I would like to know a little about one of the great directors that you have worked with and generally not mentioned in the forums. That is Malina, which you did with Werner Schroeter. And part B of the question is, you have, because of the acting press, you are the greatest actress. You are not the of France.
Anything of anything.
You are the greatest actress.
Thank you.
Okay. And you have got a lot of freedom because of your acting prowess from all the great directors. I want to put a hypothetical question to you. If you were to work with Alfred Hitchcock or Robert Bresson, how you would have adapted?
Oh my God, I would have loved to work with these two I missed, unfortunately. Yeah. Well, Bresson used to say, and not only he said it, but he did it. You know, he didn't work a lot with professional actors. He liked to work with amateurs. But of course, yes, I think I'm amateur enough myself to be able to work with Robert Bresson in a way, you know. I like the word amateur. I did a wonderful film, American film called Amateur with Al Hartley, and I like the word amateur because amateur is, in principle, it's the contrary of professional, but it's also to love, you know, because in the etymology of the word. So it's a word I really particularly cherish. So, and of course, yes, Bresson, but I'm not sure I was blonde enough for Alfred Hitchcock. In fact, maybe
he controls too much.
But I'm so happy you speak about Werner, because I was not later than today with friends. I was speaking about Werner Schroeter, and no, actually with my son, who is here somewhere. I was talking about Werner, and Werner was an extraordinary human being and director, theater director, opera director, and movie director. And he was a very interesting movie director because he was operatic, but not in the bad sense of the word. That didn't mean he did opera on screen. It was just operatic in his baroque vision and so inspiring. And I miss him a lot. He was a unique artist, and when we were talking about, you know, how difficult it is maybe now to make movies, that certainly includes a certain kind of people like Werner Schroeter. You know, I'm sure he would still do movies, but with more and more difficulties. But he was also a great poet, and it's so difficult to bring up poetry to screen, and that's what definitely he did. So thank you for speaking about Werner tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's get the mic out.
Hello.
Hello?
Have you ever come across, by reading a book or seeing a newspaper article or a story anywhere where you've thought, oh, that would make a great movie, I would love to play that role? And have you ever been involved with taking something from the initial planning stages to the final?
Yes, I've done that many times. It's not an easy enterprise, you know, to come from, I don't know how to say, a fait divers, je sais pas comment on dit fait divers. You know, one of those stories you read in the papers. In fact, I read one the other day which that I thought was so wonderful. It's a long story, so I'm not going to tell you, but immediately when I read it, I thought, oh my God, that would be a great story, a great character. And then you have to have the sort of a producer to make that achieved, you know, because you have to take the story, to have it turned into a screenplay, to find the director, but it's interesting because sometimes, in fact, you dream about a story, whether it's a fait divers, you know, one of those stories in the newspapers, or whether it's a book, and then you realize that all of a sudden you play a role which is nothing to do with those other stories, but your imagination, all what you dreamt about, you know, you can put it. It's a bit like when you do cooking, you know, you take certain ingredients, and instead of doing a certain dish, you do another dish, you know. So acting is a bit like cooking, actually.
So you're just taking your energies from the one
That's
thing
right.
and you're transferring them to the other.
Exactly.
Thank you.
There's a gentleman. Right here.
Hi,
Hello.
I am Ali from Syria, and actually I have one question. Since we are trying to make films, we are in the start of our career. We struggle with working with actors sometimes, and sometimes it will be awesome experience. So I would love to ask you, from your experience with Michael Haneke, actually how he prepare, how we work together, from the script level until the screen level. This is my question. Thank you.
Well, everybody expects Michael Haneke, first of all, to be very, very difficult and to be. He's the other way, the opposite of what everybody usually expects. Is very, very easy to work with. Is very easy as a person. Very nice. Sometimes very funny, even. Not
Smiles.
always. Very nice, of course. Yeah, yeah. But. Is mostly interested in the technical aspects of movie making. He wants movies being real as possible, and as everybody knows, movie is not real. It's about being fake. You know, if you shoot people, you don't normally shoot people. I mean, I hope so. So it's the art of making something believable that, by definition, is not believable. But so he's obsessed with reality, with any technical thing in the film being true, and is more interested about that than, you know, psychology or emotion. That he leaves it to the actor, and so that's why he's so easy to work with, because the most important scenes for an actor is being left to his own responsibility and pleasure and freedom. But he's really, really very, when it comes to the technical aspects, he's really, really much there. And I was always struck by, he's really an amazing director to my eyes, and is the way he frames, he takes the frame of a scene, because if you've seen his films, he makes very, very few cuts in the film, so it's more, you know, he's able to do a whole scene with a single frame, and the way he looks for the perfect frame, because that's so important, is quite amazing and quite fascinating. And when I work with him, I'm always amazed at how precise it is, and how, because if you take a film like, you know, the last one I did with him, it's called Happy End. There was this long scene between me and my son in the film, and a long dialogue scenes, and there is no cut, nothing, and the scene is about, I don't know, 12 minutes, and you watch the scene because it's the perfect exact frame. You know, the son is lying on the bed, and I'm sitting on the bed next to him, but it's so precise and so exact, you know, there couldn't be any other frame. So I'm always quite interested by the way he does that.
On the script?
On the script, you know, Michael is Austrian, as you know, and he speaks very good French and very good English, but when it comes to dialogues, he has a tendency to leave it to the actor's perception and instinct, because he's not, for once, you know, because he's most likely the one who has control and ideas and decisions upon almost everything, but not on that, because he knows that he does not have this precision about the French language. So it's very, he lets it to me and to the actors, I mean to the French actors.
Hello, I am Ram. So you have done both stage plays and cinema. In stage play you have a lot of freedom for the movement. Though in cinema also you have the freedom for movement, there is a camera involved. So how does that blocking part of camera affect your staging part of actor? What is your relationship with camera and the cinematographer?
When you make movies from the very beginning, since day one, even if you are maybe 5 years old, you understand that to make movies is to establish this very unique relationship with the camera, with the movement, with the limitations that movie making implies, which is you can move here, but you cannot move further. I mean, that's because you cannot be out of frame. So that's the first thing you understand. So it's almost like it's like driving a car, which I don't, so I can't tell you. But if I drove, I mean, I think I understand when I sit next to the passenger that the gesture become, you don't even think about it. You do the gift, I mean the shift gear or whatever, but you don't think about it. And it's exactly the same for an actor. There's something automatic.
Yeah, there's somebody back there.
Hello ma'am, my name is Alok. I have a question for you ma'am. How to deal with realistic acting? Because sometimes happens that acting become more realistic and then it's flat. So how to engage the audience and also how to engage with camera so that it will feels like it is realistic but not it is flat acting.
Ah oui, d'accord. Because you think that with the danger that being realistic becomes too flat?
Yeah.
Ah oui, okay. For me, you know, there is always a purpose to follow, to reach. It's just to be real, to be true. So I don't really have questions about am I flat, am I too realistic? It's not my, you know what I mean? It's I'm exclusively concerned about being real, and that's all. I have no other thoughts when I do it.
Do you know, Isabelle, when you got it? Like, do you feel it in your bones that I nailed this?
Well, sometimes you feel that you could be a little bit better. It's you know, there's something also very flexible. You know, we don't do necessarily movies with, you know, somebody who imposes. I mean, I can easily say, well, let's say another take, or if the director is happy, okay, I'm happy. But I also know that there is a essential step in movie making, and that is the editing. And we all actors, and when we do a film, we know that, of course, as much as we know how to relate to the camera, we know that ultimately there will be this final step, which is as important as the editing of the film, which is as important as the filming in a way. By editing the film, you mix it all. I mean, you know this famous experience by this famous Russian director from the 30s, I keep forgetting his name, you know, he makes 3 close-ups with 3 completely different intercut images. Merci. Bon. Anyway, and one was a close-up, one was a dead body, and one was, anyway, and the face is the same. So, I mean, it says a lot about editing, what it means, and what it doesn't mean that, you know, because editing I don't do what I do. I mean, I don't care about what I do and so forth. But I mean, we know that we in that final process, you know, even the performances might appear slightly different.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
Hello, ma'am. Ma'am, there are various theories of acting. Like there is a theory of being attached and detached to a character. There is a theory of being like very empathetic towards a character, or going from exterior into interior. You spoke about how costumes are important, being to go from exterior to interior. So, is there any theory that you follow?
Can you, I'm sorry, repeat the beginning of the question? I'm sorry.
Ma'am, being attached and detached to a character. You spoke about being active and then passive.
I don't really have theory about anything actually. When I act, and well, I might have one theory, is just precisely having no theory. Again, but of course, I mean, sometimes the interesting thing is that let's say sometimes you wonder what you are going to do, or you have a kind of inner interrogation, and sometimes the answer is given by the staging. All of a sudden, for instance, you do a close-up, and because the camera is such a strange, it's almost like microscope, you know, which goes through you and through. So sometimes the close-up resolves a lot of things, because you know that what you want to express is going to be expressed not only through your words but through your looks, and that's all of a sudden even the lashes can be a big event, you know, or whatever. So you can have a kind of a answer to some questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's a lady at the back.
So my question is that you have seen through all the transformations, like from films, drama, that is play, and now we have the digital era. So as an actor, what do you feel the best advantage of digital media, like web series, and what is one disadvantage that you feel in the digital media?
Well, honestly, as far as I am concerned, I don't really feel differences when I do movie, even with digital lighting, or look, the other light. I don't know how you call it, argentic. But the only difference is that you can make as many takes as you want, because it costs less money. You know, before you know, if you would take, you know, if you would do 10 takes or 20 takes or 25 takes, and you knew that it costs a lot of money. Now that digital, you can do 45 takes. Nobody cares. So, but as an actress, and I know that the director, for instance, I think one of the last films I did, argentique, was a movie by Mia Hansen-Løve, a movie called Things to Come, and of course Mia wanted very badly. She didn't want any digital for her film. As an actress, I couldn't tell the difference. You know, it's really something that you can appreciate as a director, and the way you want your light to look like. But for me, it doesn't make any difference.
Hello, ma'am. Hi. What are the qualities you expect from a budding actor, a new actor? What they need to be possessed?
Oh, I think that, actually, I think sometimes I think the new actors that have. I feel they are sometimes much more sure of themselves than I was when I just started. I don't know, it's something as, maybe because there's so many medias, and because of the social medias, there is a relation to, I don't know, images and even all private lives now become public in a way. So it makes. Sometimes it makes maybe the people more daring, or I don't know. So I expect them to give me advice rather than the other way around.
How do you sort of process the new fame that's propelled by social media? For actors also, at least for actors in this country, so much of it is now driven by their followings on Instagram and Twitter and all the rest of it. How do you see that? Do you see that as problematic, or?
No, I don't see it as problematic. I see it as being something part of the, it's like you would feel problematic the cell phone, I mean, at the beginning, but now everybody, has the cell. I don't feel it as problematic. I'm not sure it makes, the anything better or the core of what you do better, but it has its values in terms of connections and in terms of making things known, and yeah, sure.
Are you on any social media?
I don't even know.
Yeah, it's back there.
Hello, ma'am. I would like to ask you that do you experience any slight changes in your behavior or your personality after doing different characters or different state of mind?
Do you feel that you're changed as a person after doing a specific kind of character? Does the character have any impact on you?
By no means, no. No, I feel completely, no. I'm very, very, no. I'm very, like I had a raincoat. I don't feel anything, no.
And you can disconnect instantly when the film is over?
Yes, I was never, yeah, sure. No, I mean, all actors in the world will tell you, doing a movie is a very, it's a wonderful experience most of the time. You live in a certain parallel world, in a way, in a certain parallel reality, and that is the reality of the shooting, the reality of these great relationships between people on a movie set, and then it stops, and of course you have a little melancholy after you go to summer camp, for example, when you are a child, but then it's over, yeah, and also that the movie will have a life on its own on the screen, but I don't have this kind of connection with anything I do to the point that I feel any kind of a nostalgia or negative feelings after I finished doing a role. I don't think that I in a way I identify to what I do enough to feel like an orphan once it's been done. No.
And your core self stays intact, no matter what you play and what you do.
That I cannot assure you. I have to ask him. I don't know.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, we can hear. No?
I'm audible now. So I want to, as you mentioned, collision effect, I just wanted to understand what is your approach for a long take, because it happens in real time, and with the scenes which has most of the cuts. So how do you deal with both the kind of scenes?
A scene with a long take, so there's no cut? Is that what you're saying? Like a really long scene?
Yeah, a long take, because it happens in real time, so you have...
I learn my lines. What else can I do?
Hello, ma'am. Hello. My question is, when you receive a script, when you get a script and you read your character, after that, basically you relate to a character in daily life or a character you might know. But what do you do in situations where you have to create an imaginative character, a fictional character? Because of a character which you don't know anything, how does he walk or anything like that. So how do you create, are there any techniques for that, to create an imaginary character or fictional character that people love to see new one?
Well, all characters are by definition imaginary and fictional, but also I mean, it's the same in every film I do, I believe. I don't have any specific technique. The only thing I can say is that, again, as to go back to what we said when we initially started this conversation, I don't necessarily seek to make it likable or to. I just do it as true and real as possible. And I keep saying I have nothing to do with these people, you know. I mean, they are what they are, and I am what I am, you know. I'm just trying to make it to make halfway between a character and myself, to make it as real as possible.
Hello, ma'am. Here, this side. So my question is, have you ever feel threatened from a co-actor of yours while doing a scene?
Threatened?
Yeah, or maybe intimidated.
By the director?
No, by your co-actor.
Threatened? No. Maybe it was threatened by me, but but you have asked them. You have to ask them. I was never threatened by anybody.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. And my second question is, as soon as you get the script, how many times you read it, or what's your process?
That's a very good question. How many times do I read it? Before I decide I do it, a lot of times, because it's the way, again, as I said, it's sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes it takes me a lot, especially in the case of a first-time director. It takes a long time for me to make up my mind, so I would read it a lot. But after I started the film, I never read it again. I mean, I learn my lines, of course, but you know, I leave it on the. Yeah, I don't need to read it again. Well, I've read it so many times before that I know it by heart anyway, so I don't need to read it again.
Hi, ma'am. Has there been any character so complex you came across that you felt that you didn't have the emotional depth to do justice to the character and you gave up the role, or you took up the role and has been disappointed with your performance?
You know, was there ever a role offered to you where it was so emotionally complex that you just didn't want to do it? Or did you ever do it and then felt disappointed by your own performance?
No, it's a good question. No, that's not exactly the way it works. I mean, there are good roles and bad roles. That's the line. But too emotionally, never complex enough in a way. You know, that's it makes it. And I think that also things have changed a lot over the years in that respect. Before, you used to have bad people, good people, and the line was much clearer between bad and good, and so the performances were poor in a way too. Because, but now you can easily travel between the good and the bad, and you can play on complexities and on ambiguities, and it makes it much nicer. It's a lot of fun.
Do you watch yourself on screen? Do you critique your own performances?
Every day, every night, all day, I watch myself. No, I'm kidding. Nobody seemed to think that I was kidding, so I'm very disappointed.
Some actors say that they don't ever watch the films they do. They just.
I think they lie, but I lie the other way around too.
Hello. So you've had a very long career, and you've had an amazing variety of different roles, different directors that you've worked with, different actors that you've worked with. Is there anybody that you have not worked with yet that you do want to work with, either a director or another actor? Do you have a burning desire to work with somebody that you haven't had an opportunity? Or is there a specific role or a character or something? You've done all kinds of things, but is there still something left that you want to do?
Well, I think all actors in the world dream to work with a certain kind of directors, or it's not so much about whom I'm willing to work with, but more who wants to work with me. So, in theory, I cannot tell. Yes, of course, I want to work with all the great people, but I don't have one person in particular. And I think an actress' journey doesn't really build itself this way. You know, it goes where it goes. First of all, and this is certainly not something that you can control a little bit of it, but not all of it. Luckily, in a way. So.
And who is the favorite character that you've played of all of the things you've done? Was there something that really resonated with you that you feel, yes, I really love this person. I love being this person. I
would say more I love being that person, that I really love that damn, I really love that person, because I don't really. But it's hard for me to. You know, for me it's more about doing certain encounters and sharing a work with someone, but I can't say, well, I like this one. Of course, yes, I understand that some people like certain characters more than others, like the piano teacher, and I mean, those are always the same who come back, so, okay, if everybody loves them, so I love them too.
Thank you.
Hello.
Can I ask you one question?
We're going back to the same people, but there are other people waiting to ask questions.
Okay, ma'am, I just wanted to ask one question.
Right at the back. Yeah.
Hi, I just wanted to talk about the film Elle. Well, ma'am, you just mentioned that when you read the book, you saw it as a revenge saga. When you guys were shooting the film in the scripting stages, did the director, were you skeptical that people are gonna see it in a negative way? Or what was the approach to the film? Did you want to keep it as like an open ending, or was it always a revenge saga?
Well, I had no doubts when I started to do it. I could have done it if I had this little suspicion about the director's view or objectives, and certainly not. I had complete trust in Paul Verhoeven, as much as he's had trust with me in a way, because we never really spoke about what we were doing, and that was really nice. But I had no doubt that we were going in the same direction. I knew it. Day by day, scene by scene, moment by moment, we were just in tune, the two of us. So, and if I had the least little doubt, it would have made the work very difficult in a way. I had a lot to do with doing the role. If I had to have other preoccupations than doing the roles, it would have made the whole experience very, very painful for me.
But has it ever happened through this long journey that you're on a film and somewhere through the film you discover that you're not moving in the same direction? And then how do you stay committed?
It never happened to me. No? And it will never happen to me. No, I think it's that would be the greatest danger and the greatest difficulty, to have to face this kind of a or if it happens, I'm very good to avoid the conflicts anyway, so that's what I would do.
Okay guys, 2 more questions. We have people here in the first row.
Ma'am, can I ask you a question? Ma'am, you started making films at a very young age, very tender age. I would like to ask ma'am, you started making films at a very young age.
With that I understood.
How do you quote Claude Chabrol in your life? Did he influence you in some ways, or you are already made up as an actress the way you are?
Well, I had been an actress for some time already when I met him, but the reason why I think we were such a good team and why we did so many movies together, which was 6 or 7? 7? Yeah, yep. 7, is that I think we had exactly the same idea of just speaking about reality, and he knows exactly what it meant to be not an unsympathetic individual, but an individual in an unsympathetic situation, and that was really political in a way, and that was really Claude Chabrol's landmark. If you take The Ceremony, for example, well, of course, they're certainly not very sympathetic women, but it's more a denunciation of a certain political and, let's say, social functioning of our society between, wealthy people and poor people, and the movie was really about this. So it goes beyond to know that if a character is nice or not nice, and I think each movie I did with Claude Chabrol, whether it was Violette Nozière or right to the end, he was more interested in describing certain mechanisms of our world than anything else. And I agreed with him about that.
Excuse me. Can I ask a question? Here, ma'am.
Yeah. Yes.
Previously, you mentioned that you've given a lot of freedom by the directors you work with. My question is that have you ever had a conflict with a director, or have any director asked you something to perform that doesn't fit the logic, or as when you act? As an actress, it doesn't fit your logic, but you have to perform because the director is asking you.
Honestly, no. It never really. It never happened. No. And if it would happen, well, it would be the indication, the sign that we are not really viewing the same. It would be, I think, very embarrassing. But it never happened. And usually, I've been working with people who know what it means to leave an actor free, and who know what it means to trust an actor, and also certainly because they trust themselves before everything else. So it's enough for them to trust the people they work with.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Isabelle. I'm Jay from Canada. And I think Anupama introduced you incorrectly by comparing with Meryl Streep. I think Meryl Streep is Isabelle for America.
I heard that before sometimes. Thank you. Yes.
Hello. You said that it's very important for you that the character that you're playing is true and it's real. How do you decide that? What's true and what's real? How you define it? And also, I would like to ask you, do you ever have doubts when you're playing your characters?
Well, how do I define true? Well, as a spectator, I can exactly see if an actor is, well, let's forget about the definition between being true and real. I mean, that's another debate, but I know exactly when an actor has a way of being just, believable, let's say. Believable.
But how is it for you? I mean, when you're acting, when do you feel it's...
Well, yes, of course you take certain options, but that goes with the story itself. Of course, you don't play a dramatic character exactly the same way as you would play an actor or character in a comedy. So of course you have some other kind of layers that also define your acting. But even with those other layers, there is a way of being just, I don't know, natural, true. I don't know.
And about doubt?
No doubt. I'm sorry.
Miss, you have worked with great directors of world cinema, just like Hugo and Andre Vazda and Chabrol. So I wanted to get a first-hand report about that personality. So is there any incidents that show that they are great persons?
Great persons?
Oh, yeah.
Well, most of the time, yes. The people I've been working with were people that I liked, people that I loved, yes. Probably, yeah, all of them. I certainly loved Chopra. He was an extraordinary person, funny, caring, educated, smart, yes. Yeah, and I really cherish the value of these kind of relationships, you have with this kind of directors of people. Mm.
But is that a necessary part of your process to like the directors you work with, or could you actually tell a great story with a person you didn't really like but was telling a great story?
Well, it's probably more I'm more interested that they like me rather than I like them. But if they like me, it's fine. I usually, what we say, the sentiments are always reciproc. So if they like me, I like them, and it works the other way around.
Okay, guys, last question. Yeah, can we get a mic to him?
What is a character for Isabelle? Is it only a character, or is it a blend of Isabelle and character, or is it just Isabelle playing into the situation?
And well, the answer is I don't have the answer, and I won't give it to you.
Can you? May I ask for your daily schedule as an actress?
Do you have a daily schedule as an actor? Do you have like some rhythms you follow?
No, it depends. Sleeping most of the time.
That was amazing. Isabelle, thank you so much. It's been so wonderful. And thank you to all of you. Thank you.
Is changing the real. No, I said I don't have any social media. I have Instagram.
Wow.
Voilà.
I love it. Let's all follow her immediately.
That's right.